In the heart of Burkina Faso, an extraordinary scene unfolded. 100 tons of bananas, yes, fruit, not gold or fuel, were carried by convoys into the vast desert. Trucks loaded with bunches of ripe, overripe, and even spoiled bananas rolled out for markets, warehouses, and cold storage facilities. Their destination was not kitchens or markets, but the burning sands of the Sahel. There, under a blazing sun, villagers and soldiers together dug shallow pits and buried the fruit beneath the cracked earth. To the outside world, this act seemed absurd. Why destroy valuable food in a region where hunger is a constant struggle? Why discard nourishment when so many families go to bed with empty stomachs? Yet behind this shocking order from President Ibrahim Traoré lay a daring vision known as Project Green Pulse. Far from being an act of waste, it was a bold agricultural experiment, one that could potentially rewrite the rules of survival in Africa. Because in the Sahel, a banana is more than just food. It is a vessel of nutrients, potassium, magnesium, phosphorus, and organic carbon, all the very elements that decades of drought and overuse have stripped from the soil. Bananas, when allowed to decompose, could breathe life back into the desert dust, transforming barren land into fertile earth. This was not mere symbolism. To the government, each banana buried was an investment in the nation's future, a declaration that Burkina Faso would no longer bow to foreign fertilizer ships docking at distant ports. But at first, the project stirred confusion and even outrage. Farmers asked bitterly, "Why bury food while our children are hungry?" Traders shouted that it was madness. Families who relied on bananas for meals and income struggled to understand. Yet, amid the protests, there was also curiosity. The burial of bananas turned into something resembling a festival. Children laughed as they carried bunches on their heads, dropping them into pits. Elders whispered prayers over the fruit. Teachers told their students, "A banana feeds the body, but it can also feed the earth." Some villagers began calling the initiative planting yellow trees, while others nicknamed it feeding the desert. Still, skepticism lingered. Could rotting bananas really revive soil long considered dead? Or was this simply desperation disguised as innovation? For many, the answer remained unclear. But as the bananas disappeared beneath the sand, one truth became undeniable. Project Green Pulse was more than an experiment. It was a statement, a refusal to accept dependency, and perhaps the first step toward a revolution in Africa's fight for survival. To truly understand why President Traoré ordered 100 tons of bananas buried in the desert, one must look beyond symbolism and into science. A banana is not just soft fruit filled with sugar. It is one of nature's richest packages of nutrients, potassium, magnesium, phosphorus, and organic carbon. Exactly what the Sahel soil has been starving for after decades of drought and chemical exhaustion. The Sahel's earth is dry, acidic, and lifeless because it has been stripped of natural balance. Chemical fertilizers, imported at high costs, have offered only temporary relief. But bananas, when they decompose, act differently. As the fruit rots, potassium strengthens roots, magnesium accelerates photosynthesis, phosphorus from the peel helps seeds germinate, and carbon compounds nurture microorganisms that rebuild soil health. Even the mush of overripe bananas becomes an ideal medium for soil bacteria, restoring biological life that chemicals often destroy. This was not untested theory. Studies in Brazil and India had shown that banana waste could transform infertile land into productive fields. In northeastern Brazil, maize yields jumped 40% when banana stalks and skins were mixed into degraded fields. In India, banana pits turned sandy soil into vegetable gardens in just 2 growing seasons. For Traoré's advisors, the logic was clear. If it worked there, why not here in Burkina Faso? And so Project Green Pulse was born, not for madness, but method. Each truckload of bananas represented more than just organic matter. It was a statement of sovereignty. Burkina Faso spent millions every year importing fertilizers from corporations abroad. Every shipment meant debt, dependency, and vulnerability. By using bananas, a fruit often left rotting in warehouses and markets, the nation could fertilize its land without spending a single coin overseas. Yet to the outside world, the sight of villagers burying bananas became an object of ridicule. Foreign newspapers ran mocking cartoons. Commentators smirked, calling Burkina Faso a literal banana republic. But inside the country, the meaning was far different. For farmers who had seen their land produce nothing but dust, this was not comedy. It was hope. When early data revealed that test plots showed reduced acidity and doubled microbial activity, after only 3 weeks, skepticism began to waver. Bananas, it seemed, were not just fruit. They were life for the soil. The government promised more results to come, but already one message was clear. Burkina Faso was no longer begging for solutions from abroad. It was creating its own. The first reactions to Project Green Pulse did not come from scientists, but from ordinary people in villages, markets, and fields. In Ouagadougou's bustling stalls, traders protested angrily. "These bananas could have fed my family," one shouted. "Now they are buried in sand." But in rural areas, something different was happening. Teachers explained to children that they were not wasting food, but feeding the earth itself. The phrase spread like wildfire. When the earth eats, we all eat. For many elders, the burial of bananas was not strange at all. It echoed ancestral traditions of offering food to the land and the spirits in exchange for life. "When I was young, we buried milk to call the rain," said one old man. "Today, our children bury bananas to call life." Nothing has changed. For them, Project Green Pulse was less a foreign experiment than a rebirth of African memory. And then the first visible results silenced many doubters. After 3 weeks, green shoots appeared on fields once considered dead. Villagers gathered in disbelief as millet and sorghum sprouted from soil that had resisted planting for years. "For 10 years, nothing grew here," one farmer said. "After bananas, the land feels alive again." State television broadcast these images across the country. For many, it was proof that the impossible was becoming real. Outside Africa, however, reactions were mixed. In Paris, newspapers mocked the project with cruel humor, while American think tanks dismissed it as political theater. But not everyone laughed. In Moscow, state media praised Traore as a bold innovator, comparing Burkina Faso's banana experiment to Russia's own resilience under sanctions. In Beijing, experts noted their own traditions of using organic waste to restore fields and quietly applauded the project's ecological vision. In Ankara, Turkish commentators framed it as dignity in action, food given to the soil to restore independence. But perhaps the strongest reactions came from within Africa itself. Crowds in Mali and Niger chanted Traore's name as though he were their own leader. In Senegal and Guinea, memes that began as jokes about banana pits transformed into proud symbols of sovereignty. Africans recognized what outsiders mocked, that this was not just about fruit. It was about freedom. Yet even amid the excitement, new questions rose. If bananas could restore soil, what else might? Could other organic waste, mango skins, millet husks, or animal manure, fuel the same revolution? And more importantly, how would powerful fertilizer corporations react if African nations no longer depended on their products? As speculation swirled, new revelations made clear that Project Green Pulse was more than an experiment. Reports leaked suggesting that European fertilizer companies were alarmed by Burkina Faso's move. If successful, it could weaken their billion-dollar market in Africa. Some accused the project of being a political strategy to cut invisible chains of dependency. Rumors even spread that the burial of bananas masked secret funds or alternative energy experiments. The debate grew louder, but the soil itself offered the real answer. Government scientists released their first full report. Banana-enriched plots showed a 60% increase in fertility in just 6 weeks. Acidity dropped, microbial life surged, and millet sprouted on land long considered barren. Journalists who had mocked the idea now filmed themselves standing in fields alive with green shoots. Farmers spoke with awe. "We buried fruit," one said, "and the earth gave us life." But this was not only about science. It was about money and sovereignty. Burkina Faso had spent over $100 million annually on fertilizer imports. By replacing even 30% with organic alternatives like bananas, millions could be saved for schools, hospitals, and defense. A nation that feeds its soil feeds its freedom, President Traore declared. For supporters, these words were electrifying. For critics abroad, they were unsettling. Western analysts doubled down, calling the project unsustainable. But inside Africa, the meaning was different. Ordinary people began experimenting with their own organic solutions. Mango peels, peanut shells, animal manure. The project had moved beyond government orders. It had become a people's movement. By mid-year, more than 200 hectares of land had been restored. Early harvests brought modest but undeniable surpluses. Villages that once begged for aid now shared food. For many, this was not just agriculture. It was liberation. And yet, the struggle is far from over. Powerful corporations are unlikely to surrender their hold without resistance. Economic pressure and political pushback loom. But for Burkina Faso, one truth has already emerged. A banana is no longer just a fruit. It is a symbol of defiance, of resilience, of sovereignty. The question now is not whether bananas can heal the soil. That answer is already sprouting in the Sahel. The real question is whether Africa will be allowed to protect its right to experiment, to innovate, and to rise on its own terms. History may one day remember this not as the year of wasted fruit, but as the year the Sahel whispered to the world, "We are poor in nothing but imagination."